All right, are we live? Let's find out together. I'm going to click on over to my channel, see if we are up and running. Leave the page here. Let's drop into here. As I get myself oriented and up and running, we'll be able to get to do some Spelljammer artwork tonight. So we're building a battle map for a fleet battle. I need to do some hazards. It sounds like my volume's coming through okay, so I'm going to drop that down there so that you don't have to hear my echo anymore. Fix that there, and let me see, let me grab that link. I'm going to do some social media posting, and then I'm going, while I do that, I'm going to entertain you with my origin story, and then we'll get into artwork. So hey, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games, I illustrate them, I publish online, and I've been focusing, well, I've been a DM since 1987. I've been a Spelljammer enthusiast since then. Let's see. I started creating 5e content in 2017, and I published the book that you see here on screen, the Spelljammer Combat and Exploration. I published that in March this year. So, 2 more buttons to go, and then we'll be good to go. There we are, good to go. So let me switch over my screen. There. Cool. So I'm on the X Twitter platform at Phil Kearney if you want to see my book and get discounts and stuff off my stuff. Awesome. Thank you. Like, subscribe, bell icon, notifications. When I'm live in the future, I'm here 10 times per week typically. Here is the new Spelljammer Combat and Exploration book that we created here on DMsGuild. It has 120 some odd assets that come along with the book itself. It has a 25-page conversion guide in the back end of it to use the mechanics that we create in this book in the adventure Lattice Araxis, so that you read the rules for the book, and then you read the appendix on how to modify Lattice Araxis, and through that process you learn how to build Spelljammer campaigns. So let's see, we want to go to in command, vehicles, Spelljammer, final, Spelljammer Combat and Exploration. Here we go. All right, so we might need to be making some references to fleet mechanics today. So I'm just preliminarily pulling the book open here. It's got all these cool little hyperlinks in it. It's got this toolbar down here. It'll take you to the front page of each of the chapters. And combat, spellcasting, exploration, blah blah blah. So actually, I want to be at the back in the spellcasting. Because we get to because fleet combat is at the back end of the combat chapter. So we may have some fleet stuff happening tonight. Not sure. Just wanted to get here. Hey, bro, how you doing? Let's see. When we last left off, we were building the Vocath's the Vocath Cloud battle map. I want to create some hazard tokens, so I'm going to conceal the squads, the allies, the star moths. Just going to conceal all that stuff, as well as conceal the grid. We're going to do some hard caps. So here. That. I picked up that was a copy image. So what was visible on the screen at the time is what I had highlighted is what got copied full parcel, not just a specific layer. So now I can pick up and draw. You like literally can't tell whether I've picked something up or not here, but like you can see this is underneath the grid. So this can become a terrain map that we could, for instance, can't move that. Sorry, there. Like if we had Vocath, see we could hide Vocath's crab inside of this cloud bank here. So when the star moths come by, they wouldn't find it. There. Here's your 500-foot skill. Star moth squadrons. And you could choose, like if you're going through this terrain tile, you could choose to go over or in it. right? And see, and it bleeds off down here on the side. So I'm going to fancy up that token a little bit, but this is essentially what we were looking at. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's 3 squadrons. Of course. I am a Linkin Park fan. I enjoy their music. I was a young adult in that time period, in my 20s. I was a fan of Linkin Park, and I was thrilled to find that there was a it was remixed, paper cut, a Linkin Park song got remixed to Big Pimpin' with Jay-Z, and I heard it. And I'm used to Big Pimpin', so, you know, I'm singing along for Big Pimpin', but the words aren't matching up. I'm like, holy shit, this is paper cut. It was perfect. God, it was so, it fits in Big Pimpin' so perfectly. It's so great. Anyway, I wanted to geek out about that for a hot second, and cut. So yeah, we're gonna make some more of these grid bits. We'll pluck out a couple good ones. Maybe like another one over here would make a lot of sense. Like that. This area here makes sense too. There we go. And do we need any more than that? These are basically places that so Vocath's crab will be out here in the open, and the squadrons can dash off into the cloud banks to reduce the fire they take if necessary. Or the team with the princess, spoiler alerts, with the princess can be hidden in the cloud bank here and be able to get a surprise attack on them. Vocath can act peaceful. And then have a few NPC ships still there to act as like, you know, no big deal here. There's people here. We're having a good time. Blah blah blah. But all be ready to go and fight. So as soon as they slow to dock, that's when the ships can attack, and allied squadron can come from here, and then another one from here to attack here. I don't know, but I like the idea. I like the idea of having these things like flanking. That feels good. Let's see. I think another good piece. Be here. There. Plenty of places for the team to go run and hide inside. And I like having terrain or obstacles or things that break cover because it gives you it provides a reason to move around the map more. So, yeah. So I'm going to fix up. I'm just going to fix up these edges here a bit. Yeah. Merge all those layers down. I'm going to duplicate it. Conceal this. I'm gonna come in here, and I think I'm just gonna kind of feather away a little bit. I think I want to grab a guitar pick for this. Hold on, let's go down. I like how smooth the gradients are for the guitar pick. And I think that's what I want right now. I think what I actually want to do is put a masking layer down. So we're going to mask that up a little bit. Let's add the grid back in so we have a sense of proportion. And we're going to add that back in. I'm going to drop it down a bit though. I did that wrong. This is where I'm supposed to be. Oh, I'm messing up my actual map. Stupid. Let's drop that down a bit there. There. Let's stay inside that space. There we go. Now everything's reacting the way I expected to. I wanted to get this blending effect in here. Just fading the edges in a bit. I want the. I don't know why this is important to me. I think it's just because I want to break I think I want to break the unnatural edges that we created there. Just kind of break them off. Instead of just being a hard cut with a shape, I just thought doing a blend would be better. And then for the black and white, we'll just put in. I'll just draw a cartoon cloud around it in black ink. It's just easy enough. It'll be silly. I put so little effort into my own maps. When I'm actually DMing, I don't do shit. Hey, what's up? How has been your night? Night has been good, thanks. I'm excited about the Eberron adventure. I'm looking forward to playtesting. I have my lunch time tomorrow. I'll be absent because I'm having some conversations with creators from the BECME Let's Play, the live at the what's the word? The live stream game that I'm involved in for BECME. That's getting together with that crew to have just a conversation about characters and stuff tomorrow at lunchtime. So my normal martial power stream will be interrupted and skipped, and then on Wednesday I'm actually going downtown. So I won't be on Wednesday. I won't be on in the morning, and I won't be on at lunchtime. Luckily, I only have to go on once a quarter. So, God bless work from home. Such a massive blessing for me. Yeah, I wanted that grid just to come through here. I mean, the grid will be over it, obviously, but you know, separate token. All right. Get back to work. Drop this one back down. We should be able to get this process pretty quickly. But this is at the 500-foot scale, so It's just the zoomed out tactical view. Oh, I haven't done any of this yet. I need to do some of this. So the 50-foot and the 500-foot scale maps in this Spelljammer combat system aren't necessary at all unless you want to close in for melee combat. And so like ship melee combat. And then 5-foot scale if you want your characters to them like physically, individually get involved in melee combat with other creatures. Otherwise, you can just stay at the 500-foot scale and operate ranged weapons and fling spells at each other across the void. But again, it's the ability to scale in and scale out is super useful. I'm really pleased with that. Let's do that. I should throw on the grid. So the battle map at the 500-foot scale is the most important. Now, if you're dealing with fighter craft that are 50 feet or smaller, then you can't if you're operating in large scale dogfighting and attacking carrier ships and stuff, then yeah, you're going to continue operating at the 500-foot scale. But you can also shift to the 50-foot scale because the harpoon flingers that are typical on fighter craft only have a 150-foot range before being at disadvantage. And again, the ships all fit within 50-foot squares. So 3 squares away is the range for harpoon flinger, which is super close in combat. That's like throwing daggers at each other. So that's the scale that you can operate in there, and you can have like that's when you can have like creatures attacking ships at a scale small enough that the characters can actually deal with them individually if necessary. And so the 50-foot scale for fighter craft it's just a really versatile space because so many maps would benefit from being at the 50-foot scale if you had means of being able to traverse that space swiftly. You can more easily like depict an entire town, for instance, at the 50-foot scale, or like labyrinth complexes, like sprawling mazes and stuff. You can depict them at the 50-foot scale, and it adds a sense of the scaling, like literally it's the sense of scale that it incorporates. It allows you to make your adventures like literally bigger. Yeah, that feels good. Let's pop this out. Yeah, looks good. Cool, let's keep it up. Drop this down. Start over. Zoom in. I want to take a quick. I'm gonna finish this up before we move on to the next task. I want to take a tangent real quick and go play with a document I've been messing around with. Dude, where did my wedge brush go? Get on a guitar pick. Thank you. Nah, turns out the other one is the right one. Stick with our cloud smudge. I mean, it makes sense. It is a cloud smudge brush. They are clouds. That sounds intuitive. So there is a playlist down in my YouTube channel here. There's various playlists of live streams and development stuff that I've done in art and blah blah blah. One of them is Spellpoint Sorcerers. So I put it on hold for like a year or so just because. But because I knew that 2024 was going to be coming out, and I didn't want to. I had Spelljammer and this Eberron adventure to create, so I didn't want to take the time to invest in developing another Spellpoint variant class, knowing that I'd be swapping it out in 2024 anyway. So I built about 90% of it, and then just let it hang out for a bit, just for us to see what 2024 would look like. And I wanted to take the opportunity to go look at it because it's been a long time since I've streamed anything about it, and I miss it, honestly. And I'm really looking forward. It'll be the first Color Mana expansion book that I'll be publishing after the 2024 book. After I finish revising the Color Mana books for 2024, Spellpoint Sorcerers will be the first supplement, and then there's Martial Powers. Spellpoint Sorcerers could actually come out before Martial Powers. I'm not exactly sure of the timing yet, but it's so close to done. It feels like it's something that I should just finish off while I'm in the process of building the Color Mana revisions for the 2024. Because a lot of the stuff that I want to update and add to the Color Mana system in general is already inside of the Spellpoint Sorcerer document. So it just kind of makes sense that I would update and have both those things kind of kick at the same time. But I like how that looks. Press save. I want to go on a tangent real quick and go check that out. Hold on. Spellpoint Sorcerers. It was about a year ago the last time I played with this. So Spellpoint Sorcerers, we're using the same 1-to-1 point ratio for spell casting. So if you want to cast a first level spell, it costs you 1 mana. Cast a 9th level spell, it costs you 9 mana. We're blending together the sorcery points and the spell points that you would get. So by 20th level, a sorcerer has 100 points, while a wizard, cleric, druid, bard have 80 points at 20th level. The sorcerer has more, so it's 100. Plus you have they now have the meta magic recovery for the sorcerers. That would be basically you can recover your sorcery points. Well, it would be basically you can recover a number of mana equal to your sorcerer level. So that's pretty straightforward. We've revised all the color, all the generic universal spell point stuff for the sorcerer to make it all calibrate. And it's a broad. This is a broad format, 3-column format. But so we have the cantrip stuff that stays the same, mana pool. It blends the spell points. We talked about spells known. You can learn a number of spells equal. That's right. The number of spells. You don't learn spells separately from meta magic. It's all the same thing. So you could learn one spell and like 6 meta magics if that's how you want to spend your mana. That's up to you. We're not going to limit you on that. So the number of spells that you know in total is going to be 20 at 20th level. What does it say? Spells known. You can learn a number of spells on the sorcerer. You can learn a number of spells as listed on the sorcerer spell lists. You can learn a number of spells on the sorcerer spell list of any level up to your max spell level. When you gain a level, you can replace any number of spells you know with other spells on the sorcerer spell list up to your max spell level. Casting spells. To cast a spell, you spend a number of mana equal to the level of spell cast. For example, a first level spell is 1, a 6th level spell is 6. Spells of 6th level or higher, referred to as high magic, are more taxing to cast. You can cast a total number of high magic spells equal to your max spell level minus 5. For example, at 15th level, you can cast 3 spells in any combination up to 8th level, etc. Like you can cast 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th plus you can cast a second, seventh, and you can cast another 6. Technically, high magic, you can cast 5 of them using a normal player's handbook, but they're of 6, 6, 7, 7, 8, 9. With this, it can be any spell up to 10 mana as a 10th level spell slot, and you can do that up to 5 times a day. Wish is only the 10th level spell that exists, and all it can do is just duplicate other spells that aren't on your spell list. So it's expensive to cast a lower level spell. So it doesn't actually break the game to have Wish access like that. It's the broken Wish stuff you can't do until 20th level anyway, and you're capping your campaign with that. The Epic Wish. So Sorcerer's Origins, Font of Magic. Second level, you tap into deep wellsprings within yourself using spell point sorcerers. The wellsprings represent a mana pool, which is an addition to casting spells, allows you to create various magical effects. Max sorcery limit. Okay, so here's the thing. We have the max sorcery limit table. At 2nd level, it's a 1. At 5th level, it's 2. 9th level, it's 3. 13th level, it's 4. 17th level, it's 5. And then 20th level, it's 10. So you can spend a total number of mana up to your max sorcery limit as listed on the sorcery progression table above. Many sorceress bloodlines published in the player's handbook and other sources have such features that are modified by spell point sorcerers as described in the following pages. Let's see. Oops, I should really write that as... There. Let's see. We updated the point spin for stuff through all the classes. We'll see how much of that remains intact when we see the new player's handbook. That's not very important to me. It's the meta magic stuff that I think is where the real treasure here is. We're blending all our mana into our sorcery points. We're allowing ourselves to spend multiple points of mana. So like this dictates how much mana you can spend when you're using meta magic. So a 5th level character could spend 3 mana to cast a 3 level spell and can spend 2 meta magic on top of it to modify the 3rd level spell. So knowing that and what your cap here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that dictates how many sorcery points, again, you can spend per time. So a 5th level character can spend 2. So we go down to the meta magic. There's like Blinding Spell, for instance. All of these cost 1 mana. Blinding Spell, when you cast a spell that deals damage, creatures affected may make a Wisdom saving throw or are blinded. They can make a saving throw at the end of each of their turns to end this effect. And another one, for example, is Careful Spell. When you cast a spell that affects other creatures that you can see, you can spend 1 mana to choose a number of them up to your Charisma modifier, minimum of 1 creature. A chosen creature automatically succeeds on its saving throw against the spell, and it takes no damage if it would normally take half damage as a successful save. So at 5th level, I could combine both Careful Spell, which is 1 mana, and Blinding Spell, which is 1 mana. So I could drop a fireball onto my team fighting creatures, choose my allies to not be affected by it. All the enemies take damage from the fireball as normal, and they have to make a saving throw to be blinded in the process. So now the team, if they fail, the team's going to always have advantage, and they'll be at disadvantage to fight the team while they're doing it. It's just a mass blindness spell that we kicked on for an extra point of meta magic. We might actually want to key that up to 2nd level to 2 mana. So let's look at 2 mana. The below meta magic options cost 2 mana. So at 5th level, I wouldn't be able to use these until 5th level because my meta magic cap is 2. So, like Delayed Spell. When you cast a spell with a casting time of 1 action, you can maintain concentration to delay completing the spell. You can then use a reaction to finish casting a spell at any time. The spell is lost with no effect if you lose concentration. That'll cost you 2 meta magic, and you just hang on to a spell. It's great. Especially because we allow stacking concentration. A 5th level sorcerer can maintain concentration on up to 3 levels worth of spells. So it could have, like, for example, like mage armor on, right? And so that's going to give him some armor class. And he still has 2 spots open because he's 5th level. He has a meta magic cap of 2 levels, 2 mana. It could load a fireball and hold it, and then pop the reaction as soon as we see enemies, pop the fireball. Careful, protect my friends. And there we go. So like that creates new action loops and what's the word? Tactics and techniques that your sorcerer can use. That's unique to the sorcerer now. That makes the sorcerer really a really effective combat ally. Like the Warlock is great because it's combat, like its Gish combat ability. Its martial power is strong, so it brings high level casting along with martial power to it. While the sorcerer instead is more like an artillerist, where it has many options on how it can delay and affect targets within an area of effect. Like for 3 mana, which you get at 9th level, Terrifying Spell. When you cast a spell that deals damage, all creatures affected become frightened of you until they succeed a Wisdom saving throw. Creatures immune to fear or charm aren't affected. There you go. So it'll cost me 3 extra mana. So at 9th level, I could put 3 mana into my Fireball, and then toss on Terrifying Spell on top of it for a total of 6 mana. Or if there's only like 2 guys, I could just use like Burning Hands. It's an AoE effect. And so when you cast a spell that deals damage, all creatures affected, yeah, there you go. So I could use Burning Hands, hit maybe 2 creatures that are next to me, they become terrified, and then I could back away from them, and they won't follow me because they're scared of me. So I can protect myself with that kind of a spell. So we have options up to 4 mana, and the maximum is Maximize Damage, which is when you cast a spell that deals damage, instead of rolling dice to determine the total, the spell deals maximum damage. So there you go. So that means that 13th level you'll cap off on your meta magic options, but at say 17th level you could choose a combination of, like, you could do maximize damage, and you could make it a careful spell so that Fireball deals max damage and your friends aren't touched, assuming they pass their saving throws. And then and it says up here the 20th level magic feature is High Sorcery. High Sorcery is you can spend up to 10 mana on your you can spend 10 mana worth of meta magic powers. So you can combine all, like, again, you can pick out 10 of them. Maximize damage. Lifelink, when you cast a spell that deals damage, you can gain 1d6 temporary hit points for each additional point of mana you spend this way, up to your maximum sorcery limit. So I could drop in 4 points for maximum damage, and then like 3 points for lifelink, and I'd still have 3 points open. I could do Expanding Spell. When I cast a spell with an area of effect, double the distance from the origin of the area. So big bada boom. Good stuff. It's all mostly written up. There's still some stray language I need to fix, but yeah. And then a Pernicious Spell as a reaction to being targeted by a counter spell or dispel magic. You can spend an additional mana up to your max sorcery limit to increase the spell level by 1 for each point spent this way when determining the DC to end the spells. Your max spell level doesn't limit the level you can increase your spells this way. For example, if a 17th level sorcerer is casting a 9th level spell, you can spend 9 mana to increase the spell to be considered an 18th level when targeting by counterspell, increasing the DC to 28. So you can create your own ward effect and fend off counterspell and dispel magics. Good stuff there. And then we have alternate class features, optional features, variant durations, talking about concentration, maintaining multiple spells, not having an end point. You just have to maintain concentration, which means we have to have attrition, which is a means of testing your concentration over time. And then we talk about the color mana paradigm. We have the research cost for converting a spell into a different color. You'll recognize this, the damage type and the aspects of magic from the revised color mana spell list that we have. This is a quick breakdown of how those rules work. Changing the color of your pool when you finish a short or long rest. Changing the color of a spell through research. Casting spells, having to spend mana based on the color. Meta magic can be when using meta magic and spell the mana spent, spent on meta magic. You know what? We were doing it as must use mana devoted to the color, but that really restricts your mana pool. So let's see. The mana spent on meta magic can be devoted to any color. Yeah, let's do that. Devoted to any color, period. So I don't need that anymore. There. Doing some fix up, and then here's the well, we'll have to update. God, we're gonna have to update the entire spell list for the 2024. I know stuff's changing. Oy vey, that's gonna be mighty. All right, but that's why we get paid the big bucks. We got all 500-ish spells in there. We'll update it. But here it was the list of all spells for the sorcerer 1 through 9. And then once we get access to the on. That's right. We had this is the template that we'll have. It's not actually been executed yet, but this is the template we'll have for the bonus spells that each sorcerer gets. So we have the full list of spells that sorcerers have access to, and then at the end of that, we'll have the modified list for sorcerers for the player's handbook. And again, there's only 4 of them that are out, so all we have to do for the time being are the 4 that are published. So like when we do the color mana system, we're going to update, when we update the book, we're going to have all 4 of the subclasses that are included in the book modified inside of the core mechanics to go along with PH24. Anyway, I just want to take a few moments to share this because I really like this. It's a good book. It needs a little bit of polishing and some language fixing, but it's built. It works, and we're just waiting for the updated spell lists to be published so that we can update that accordingly. But this is all good, solid, updated tech that improves the quality of the color mana system in general. And a lot of this is going to just getting it hard baked into the new core mechanics. When we published the sorcerer in the book, we're not going to go through all this meta magic stuff. We're just going to skip the max sorcery limit stuff. Instead, what we're doing is we're going to save the sorcery and the point value sorcery stacking. We're going to save that for this supplement, this separate supplement. And so when we publish the actual book, all we'll need is the mana pool, the combined mana pool, the combined spells, and the max spell level, the spells known, which can also use meta magic, and just state you can learn any number of meta magic, but we won't have a sorcery point limit. We'll just leave it as it is, which currently is you can use 1 meta magic at a time. So when this book comes out, it'll be a step up in that process and expanding with this. It'll be a meaningful expansion, but it's too much for the core mechanics. The core mechanics book is designed to take what's in the player's handbook as it's in the player's handbook and just do a literal translation to the color mechanic system. And then we do pull-out books. So we do little, like the spell point Warlocks, Knights and Tricksters, Elemental Key, and this spell point Sorcerers, and we'll also do spell point Artificers. And the Martial Powers book. These are all pull-out, these are all expansions that take the base ideas that are in the player's handbook and then blow them out and expand them into bigger, bolder, better. So anyway, that's where we're at right now. So I wanted to geek out about that for a few minutes because I wanted to geek out about it. I've been thinking about that today. So you're asking how's my night going? I was thinking about spell point sorcerers a bit. went and did some grocery shopping. Picked up eggs and cheese and meat. The keto diet that I'd not had. I was going on 1 meal a day. I lost 100 pounds on 1 meal a day fasting, but my lifestyle's changed considerably since then. So it's becoming a much larger burden for me to, like, I don't want to have to go to the grocery store to buy food every day, and that's the only way I'd be able to make 1 meal a day work, is by literally having no food in the house and having to go out to get food every day and prepare it when I could have my meal. And that meal is typically in the middle of the day, and that would burn too much of my lunch. So I don't want to give that up. So I need to have food in the house. Otherwise, I'll be getting DoorDash every day, and that's stupid expensive. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to waste all my money on fucking DoorDash. So I go to the grocery store and pick up a few days of supplies. And the keto diet allows me, the keto diet really does work. I've lost about 20 pounds in the past 2 months. So I'm pretty pleased about that. You can see my jawline is more defined now than it was 100 streams ago. So I'm happy with that, and I like. I've been picking up more salmon. Salmon is amazing in Seattle, of course. In Washington State, salmon is amazing. This is where it's at. Super cheap too. So I can pick up a pound of salmon for $8. That and a poached omelet or a poached egg, with some garlic aioli is pretty damn good. That's my plans for tomorrow's lunch. So I like these. These are blended well. Let's delete that. Cool. And let's go find Vocath. One, two, three, 4 into the fog. 1, 2 into the fog. Fog. Fog for retreat. So you can do chase, go through the fog to blind each other momentarily. Get out of here, Creative Cloud. Nobody loved you. But yeah, the most important part is allowing Vocath's ship to be out on its own when the fleet approaches. So let's... I like that on top. Oh yeah, that's what I need to do. I need to make a black and white version of this. So go down to 2. Let's do that. That's real garbage. That. There, that's your space. Next. La la la. La la la. Like that. Ooh, that's a rough edge. Look at that. Whew, rough. Arr. Wrong button. Let's do that. Trim you in a little bit. That's what you get for being vagrant. There. Yeah, I'm particularly proud of spell point sorcerers. Like them being able to like freely mix their meta magic is really the leg up. I think that sorcerers need to really stand out as their own as their own truly unique thing. Like being able to blend meta magic like that, like that's let the sorcerers have their modified spells. I'm fine with them preparing that. They can learn by watching you. But I know these are rough shapes, but they're just rough shapes. Whoa, whoa, whoa. This is who we want. Thank you. Did not get to play D&D with my coworkers today. There was a rash of absenteeism. Caused us to delay the game. So next week, next Monday, we should finish the Starship battle. As a DM, I'm just excited to see like what's the next things they decide to do, because the campaign is completely just randomly generated. The problems that they have to deal with is a cascading consequence of the actions that they take. They are going to automatically mine any asteroids that are within their territory. That's the gig. It's like the default assumption of the campaign is that you're constantly going to be mining asteroids to accumulate revenue, accumulate revenue to have resources, or to accumulate resource points, basically. And so that's a given. But depending on how the mining, like the ability check that you roll for the mine, for each territory, it can either succeed or fail. And if it fails, it's because there's some sort of a problem that has to be dealt with. So I get to randomly generate what the like basically random tables and random encounter tables. I get to randomly determine what is it that's giving them some sort of trouble. Is it a combat, espionage, delving, or diplomacy situation, and like what two better or more is it? And so that way the team can choose, like, if they want to deal with a specific threat, and it's like, it's either going to be espionage or combat. Which one do you want to do? And they're like, well, we enjoyed combat last time. Let's do it this time. What's the mission? Or it can be like, we haven't done any they haven't done any espionage missions yet. They've only done delving and combat missions so far. They had the opportunity to do an espionage mission and a diplomacy mission last session, but they chose to do a combat session instead. God bless them. So they're fighting space squids. But the team made some decisions in the last delving mission that they ran two adventures ago. They took some stuff without knowing what they were taking, and that's going to create some trouble for them. They took some stuff they didn't know what they were taking, but they shouldn't have taken it. And now the elves are going to come around. Elves were already looking for something, and the team was able to chase them out of the territory using a combat passive action. They just they basically intimidated them, and so the elves didn't have any right to be there, so they took off. But then that doesn't mean that they're now launching some sort of stealth espionage mission against the team that they're not aware of. So the team might have to deal with that. And then the elves are also going to be asking them for the things that they're looking for that are missing. It's like, hey, we lost track of this thing. We hate to mention it to you, but we really feel like we need to. Have you seen it? And the answer absolutely is yes, we have, and we ganked it. Like that's gonna be an ugly conversation to hold. So that'll be them. Basically, it'll be a diplomacy mission. But we build diplomacy missions as dungeons, so they're going to be attempting to defend they're basically attempting to defend their stronghold from being invaded by elven logic and diplomatic points. They're going to be attempting to blockade, obfuscate, mislead. That's what obfuscate means. And just flat out and stonewall. So they can either attempt to intimidate to push them away, they can negotiate to sideline them, or to gain information. Like you can use insight checks to gain information, and perception to gain information, and you can use deception to trick them, obviously, to deceive them. So those are the 5 things that you can attempt to do during your turn, during these negotiations, for you to either be able to make a point or discover a point that they're trying to make, or find concealed information. And it's all kind of expressed as this dungeon space. And the characters, since the characters, since it's just a dialogue, the characters can be in any room they're aware of at any time, so you can split the party safely because they always maintain line of sight with each other inside of this space. It's more like I guess it's more like a hex crawl where you're spreading out and finding pathways and stuff than a dungeon. I like the idea of a dungeon because it has specific lines of logic that you have to travel down. Like you open up doors with questions or answers, and that gives you a tunnel that can shoot off into other topics of conversation as different rooms and side tunnels, and then you can get turned around and trapped in stuff and set off traps and get trapped, stuff like that. Still fleshing out the specifics of it, but this social delving, I haven't ran across anything that does that yet. If anyone out there in the in YouTube land knows of a game that structures conversations as a dungeon delve, let me know, because I would love to see what they did. But so far, I haven't seen anything like that. So I think I'm designing something unique, and I want to lean into that. So I mean, if I'm not, I'm not. But I haven't found anything that's actually doing that yet. So. That opens the door to Dreamscape, for example. Being able to use symbolism as locations inside of a space that you're exploring inside of somebody's psyche, like in the Exorcist role-playing game I was talking about, where you're astrally projecting yourself into the psyche of the afflicted person, so you can duel the demon directly as a combat challenge. Literally fighting forces of evil. I like doing that stuff. I think it's cool. All right, so we got this one. Boop 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 boop. Yeah, let's trim that up like that. Now we can trim that in like that. Keep it confined in this area here. Ugh, God, look at that hard break. Yeah, this is our popo. This is coming along nicely. Thank you, Timely Timer. Thinking about my books, I'm being fed images of my books being completed. It's inspiring. Just that there's a calendar timeline that's starting to be fed in my head about when I'm going to be achieving different things. And so far, it's just like a flow state. It's not hard numbers yet, but I feel the process is settling in, and the different projects are attempting. They're jockeying for priority in my mind right now, and I know that's just reality being sequenced for me, and I appreciate that. But it tends to make me stop talking, so my apologies. Here. I do want to thin this up so it's occupying the same space as the outline is. Like that. Gooder. Very gooder. Okay, so we can do some cleanup on these. Oof. Yeah, we'll be doing that, was it 8:45? We'll be doing this for the rest of the night. That's the job. That's why we get paid the big bucks. So, let's get paid big bucks. I'm going to drop that down to 2 pixels. Drop down the size of that brush. Ugh, this is so grueling. This is monotony. Friday we get to start building the new land tile, the color land tile, for the West March Rebel Belt campaign playtest that we'll do for level 5 and 6. I'm very excited about that. I'll have open recruitment on my Discord channel and my Patreon. If you're a $1 or more member of my Patreon, then you have first rights to seats. If you decide you want to play, you get a seat. But you have to let us know in advance. You can't just show up and bump somebody. That'd be rude. But the seat limit is 5. So if we get more than 5 people, we'll have to have somebody on backup. And we'll raffle who gets actual seats. And it goes to, and again, it goes to Patreon supporters first. And then members of my Discord channel second. And then third-party pickup is third. Oh boy, this stuff is exhausting. Doing this shitty cloud puffage stuff is just exhausting. I'm not even really a fan of this solution. But when you're dealing with only black line art, it's good enough. We'll create some overlap and some fluffage. I think we can do that. But right now I wanted to make sure I got all the unnaturally straight lines out of the way. Make sure it's 100% curvy stuff before I start bending into changing stuff. But like the little dip-ins like that is where we're going to be getting into. Once we finish our circuit, we can get into dips. I'm getting lost in thoughts again. Sorry, guys. Getting lost in your sauce. Like if okay, so you have to have a 5-room dungeon, and so if we're having negotiations in a 5-room format, there would be there's the guardian, there's the trick, the treasure, the boss. And the trap. Treasure, treasure, trick, trap, boss, guardian. Treasure, trick, trap, boss, guardian. Good. Thinking the guardian is the points of conversation that anger them and make them less interested in negotiating with you. So fail states when you fail a die roll, the consequence of that failure is going to be damage. But the damage isn't physical damage; it is all psychic damage. So I mean, it's all just hit points. But when you run out of hit points, you fail. So anyone that gets dropped to 0 hit points ends negotiations for the day. So guardian triggers cause hit point damage. Traps create complications. Complications are side topics or additional or like petty grievances that are just tacked on because they're being spiteful. That's the result of springing a diplomacy trap. And the diplomacy trap creates conditional guardians that deal damage to your characters if they aren't properly resolved. Other than a guardian, so I think guardians are always consequences of failing issues. So like the main points of debate will never get your character killed, but every time you fail a die roll during negotiations, you trigger a complication that does deal damage. So it's an additional board state that you either like you have your main topic of conversation, you fail a die roll on your main topic, that spawns a complication that if you don't deal with it, it deals damage to the party every turn. So the side complication has to be resolved. You could attempt to continue forward with negotiations, but it will deal damage to you every turn until you resolve it. So it's like in many negotiations, you actually have to stop, spend time addressing the issue, and attempt to overcome it before it damages your stance for the day. And then every day, okay, so if someone drops to 0 hit points, that ends negotiations for the day. Then there's the passive check. The person that died makes a passive check for the party to verify if negotiations have just ended altogether as a result of this. And there's a communication breakdown, so now diplomacy is no longer an option. You'll have to use either combat or espionage to resolve your goals. Or if you pass this, or if you pass the check, negotiations will continue on another day. And again, if the team loses, if somebody drops to 0 hit points, then negotiations will end again, and there's potential that this is the end of negotiations altogether. Or if the die roll is good, then both parties are willing to come back to the table and attempt it again, even though you've blundered. You've made massive faux pas and blunders twice so far in those negotiations. So maybe the difficulty increase, like, oh, that's what it should be. The difficulty of the passive check each day increases by 1 scale of difficulty, until you either defeat the dungeon or die. There you go. Oh, that's good. Okay, we completed that loop. Let's go to the next one. I'm gonna press save. I like that. That works. That really works. I should probably jot that down before I forget about it. Let's see. Path of diplomacy. Let's see. Treasures are victory points. Tricks are hidden info and advantages through secret tunnels. A separate chamber. End goal. Tricks open up additional passages of information that are like bonus treasure if you can get them. Let's see. Boss fight is the big bad goal, defending the treasure. Traps. Guardians are complications that deal damage. Each turn. Traps trigger guardians. There, that's our structure there. Let's see. Complications and boss fights deal damage when Diplomat reaches 0 HP. The session, the 0 hit points, the negotiations end for the day. Dead character rolls passive challenge check, rolls guild passive challenge check, fail equals end of negotiations, failure to resolve Failed the adventure. Success equals may continue negotiating. Passive challenge increases by 1 diff. Yeah, Guardians needs a better name, and Boss Fight needs a like Boss Fight. Boss Fight equals core grievance. Guardians equals what is it? Petty grievances. It's core value. That's what we'll call it. Core value. Guardians equal petty grievances. Traps equal exploration triggers. Core values deals damage. Deal damage. Traps equal exploration triggers. That's what, because there's observation, because you're either observing the environments, people, and things, or so the two verbs that you have is observe and interact. So and then there's defend, but that's a passive role. So so it's still a triad, but still, the point is that when you're engaging in boss fights and guardians, you are directly dealing with the topic of grievance or core value. When you're making, and so you'll either succeed and fatigue the guardian or fatigue the boss. If you are, so let's go with interact equals boss plus boss and guardians. Observe equals deals damage, reduces total to core value and grievances. Observing does not directly attack anything, but gathers information. So, how would that work? Success deals damage. Failures take damage to your team. Failures spawn grievances. Success reduces the DC. Okay, so if it's a difficulty 5, it has 5 hit points. If you deal 3 points of damage to it, it's still a difficulty 5, and it has 2 hit points that you have to score. So that means that you need to roll at least a 16 or above to deal 1 point. But if you can deal 2 scales higher, like if you can deal above a 22 or more, you deal 2 degrees of damage to the 5th degree threat. If that's a 5th degree threat, that's a DC 15. If I could roll a 31, I'd be able to deal 5 points of damage to it in one go, and I'd be able to destroy it in one pop. Just like one killing blow. But for me to be able to roll a 31 means I need to be like effectively like a 13th, 14th level character to be able to reliably do that. But the threats I'm going to be facing at that tier aren't going to be 5th level threats, but I could be spawning 5th rank difficulties as grievances at this very high level of play. So interactions deals hit point damage to specific grievances and core values, while the observation actions, they reduce the difficulty of the task. So if it's a difficulty 5 threat that you grievance that you've triggered, and you've dealt 3 points of damage to it, you still have to roll at least a 16 or above. But if I can succeed on observation check, I might be able to drop that difficulty from 5 down to, say, 2. So now all I have to roll is a 7 or better, and I'll be able to deal damage to it. So basically you can one-shot it. So the team can work together in reducing its by reducing its effective difficulty level, and then other characters that are that are actually interacting can then take out the hit points, making it, the observations makes it easier to target. The interactions make you get rid of the hit points that have to be removed to destroy the target. So if you fail an interaction, if you fail to damage your opponent's values, they damage yours instead. If you fail to damage their grievance, their grievance takes root as a point of contention, and you just took damage for it. For observations, if you succeed in your check, you'll lower the difficulty of whatever grievance or core value you're combating. But if you fail, you spawn a grievance of difficulty level equal to how badly you failed. So if it was a 5th degree threat that you were attempting to observe and you botch it, you end up noticing there's actually another problem that has to be dealt with, and that problem is going to be like say you only got a difficulty of 2, like say you rolled a 7, but you had to roll a 16. That's 3 degrees lower than what you needed, so that's going to spawn a 3rd degree grievance that now has to be eliminated. It only takes a 10 or above to damage it, but you have to deal 3 points to it, which means you'll have to deal at least 10, 13. Yeah, you have to roll at least a 16 or above to be able to even damage that grievance at all, to get rid of the grievance. Otherwise, it'll deal damage to the team next turn. So you create a second grievance. So every time you observe, you're going to observe to try to reduce how difficult it is to take something out, and it creates more threats that you have to deal with. If you don't observe, if you fail your interaction, you're going to take damage. You only have 5 hit points per rank, and at most your 5th rank, which is going to be at best 25. Well, you have 5 hit points at 0, and then plus 5 for every rank. So 5th rank equals 30 hit points. But a 10th level threat deals 10 damage on a hit. You're going to take 3 of those or you're dead. So super difficult. And and then taking a break equals healing check for the party. And but increases the difficulty of the core value by the number of breaks taken today. Because if you die and you have to bail on the mission, then when you come back, when you come back, by the number of breaks, let's see, taking a break equals taking a break or taking a break equals a heal check for the party. Enemy, but the enemy increases the difficulty of the core value by the number of breaks taken today. Yeah, that's quick and easy. That's the core of it. Now I have to start, like, that's the core mechanics of it. Now we have to start putting skin on those core mechanics. This is not what we're doing today. This is just something that came up. So let me go back to Kraken production. Warforged and Machines, LTA, mining campaign. Diplomacy dungeon. There we go. So yeah, I guess it's more like a hex crawl. It's I guess it's kind of like a hex crawl, not as much as a dungeon, or like maybe like a point crawl. Maybe that'd be a better way of putting it. Like when you're delving, that is a cavern crawl, not so much like a dungeon crawl, but natural caverns, right? And the hazards that trigger are like actual environmental traps, like landslides or quicksand pitfalls. Shifting gravity that causes people to fall, unusually tight passages that you could potentially get stuck in when you try to squeeze through. So they are physical hazards, but the diplomacy is all psychological stuff. So it's all spirit. All the damage that you'll be taking is spirit damage. Like in the fighter ship combat, almost all the damage they're taking is physical damage. They're occasionally being hit by these sonic effects that the space octopus have, but for the most part, they're taking physical damage. In the diplomacy mission, it would be almost 100% psychic damage. It should be 100% psychic damage, and then in an espionage mission. The way that's currently being built is you don't take any physical damage, but just like the diplomacy mission, every time each complication increases the difficulty. Every time you fail something, it either creates a complication or it ratchets up the difficulty of the threat, or it heals the threat, so that the hit point progress that you make is nullified. That's another variable. So when characters deal damage to a core value, if they fail the roll, if they've already damaged the core value, when they fail a check, they could take damage, or the core value could heal for the amount that you failed by. so you can erase your progress. I don't think I like the idea of erasing progress because that just feels. I think that has a feel bad. I like the idea of them being able to make steady progress. There might be espionage might be different in that well, if they're blowing their cover, then the DC would increase because they're becoming more and more aware that there's a threat nearby. So it makes sense that it would ratchet up the general security level of the target. So instead of dealing damage and taking damage with successes and failures to your core objective, it would be the core objective difficulty increases. So you would have to use observation to lower the difficulty. This is starting to feel like Numenera over here. And that's a good thing. I like that. I like being able to use like edge, like the edge. Basically, you're using an action to gain edge, to give everybody on your team edge. If you're using if you're using Cipher system terminology. And you don't offer complications in exchange for the die roll. You make the die roll, and failing the die roll is what creates complications. Oh, I mean, I guess it flows through. So, yeah, that's legit. And this all works for Dungeons and Dragons as well as Pathfinder characters. Instead of your characters having 5 ranks and 5 plus 5 hit points per rank, the way that you do it instead is you take your proficiency bonus modifier, and multiply that by 5. So a first level character will have 10 hit points, and a 17th level character will have 30. And these are not actual hit points. These are skill challenge points that your character then uses ability checks to attempt successes and registers failures, just like we've been discussing here. And you can drop this entire system right into any 5e game that you're playing, or similarly calibrated, like Pathfinder, for instance. I think it has proficiency bonus modifiers as well. And again, it would just calibrate to 5 per bonus, assuming that it caps out at 6. I don't remember how far up it goes, but if it calibrates at a different number, we just calibrate a different number of hit points. But the system works exactly the same, and your proficiency bonuses and your ability to hit, like your ability check modifiers for both like mutants and masterminds, Pathfinder 1 and 2, Starfinder, D&D 3rd and 4th edition, they all work, and they can all use the same ability check mechanic, because these challenge points that they have, basically replace their normal hit points. And in D&D and Pathfinder, the default state of the game is combat. So when these skill challenges fail, presumably it's going to erupt into a battle. Similarly, you can create alternate goals in your D&D game by having a normal combat encounter occurring. Meanwhile, there's this other task that has to be performed, these magical tasks or this rogue puzzle thing that has to happen. And while you're doing your ability checks, you're fatiguing the amount of plot points that particular device has, or that magic ward has, or however you're playing it. Whatever it is, the MacGuffin of it. But the MacGuffin has to be resolved, and your meat soldiers are over there dealing meat damage, you know? However your team plays that out. But you can layer all this stuff in. It's designed to be used inside of 5e games. Because that was the origin of this stuff, but then it just kind of ballooned into its own system that didn't need to use all the bulk of 5e and could be an ability check system 100%. Like it's only ability checks using these plot points instead of hit points. But the plot can be your character dies. So plot points can be hit points if you want to use the simplified ability check system. So we'll make a Kickstarter out of that. We'll probably launch it in 2027. We'll have plenty of time to have play tested this system. Too much. Needs more wavery. More cloud-like. More. Do. Well, if I hadn't taken that huge tangent, I may have gotten this task done today. Me and my tangents, you know? But hey, that's game design. You want to record your thoughts while you're having them so that you remember it and allow it to crystallize. That's important. Me and my tangents, you know? And I just love figuring these things out. I love how versatile of an engine 5e really is. It's crazy flexible. Feels good. There. Feels good. That feels good. That feels good. Yeah, that feels good. Cool. 1, 2 potatoes. Let's do a third potato. What time is it? Yeesh. All right. Well, I should probably go. What's our timing here today? An hour and 41 minutes. Not bad. I was all over the place today, but God bless, I was having a ton of fun with this stuff today. So we'll be back. We're going to do this some more on Thursday night. And so we'll finish these tokens here. We'll make the clouds look good. And then we're going to zoom in, and I think we'll do some custom 10 square base plates. Yeah, we're about at the place where we need to start playtesting this. So I'll figure that out. I don't know. I'm overbooking myself. I need to be careful about that. But I like where we're going. I like where this is all at. So all right. So thanks a lot, guys. I'm going to kick out of here. I'll be back tomorrow morning. I'll be back, but I won't be back for lunch tomorrow. So tomorrow morning, I will see y'all there for more Eberron art. And have a great night. Thanks a lot.